When the winds of your life begin to shift, when the ground beneath your feet feels unsteady, and when it seems like everything around you is being stripped away, do not be afraid, do not run, do not crumble under the pressure, because that very moment, that very shaking, is often the sign that God is about to give you something big, something you could never earn, something you didn't even know how to pray for, something so divinely orchestrated that only God could make it happen. There comes a time in your life when the noise grows louder, not because God has left you, but because He is about to silence your enemies. When God prepares to pour something heavy into your life, He first makes room. Making room often feels like loss, like confusion, like delay, but don't be fooled. That delay is divine. That confusion is construction. That silence you're hearing, it is the voice of God clearing the path, removing distractions, and preparing the atmosphere for a mighty release. God never delivers great things into crowded places. When God is about to give you something big, He clears the room. He empties your hands. He closes some doors. He removes people who once made you feel safe, and it can feel like abandonment, but it's not. It's alignment. It's God saying, you're not going to need them where I'm taking you. You see, what God has for you cannot be diluted, cannot be shared, and cannot be sabotaged by those who don't belong. So when things start falling apart, praise God. When people start walking away, praise God. When your plans collapse and nothing makes sense, praise God. That's how you'll know. That's the sign. That's the moment you should prepare your heart, because something big is coming. God never announces His blessings with fireworks. He announces them with a test of faith, a test of patience, a test of surrender. Right before the breakthrough, God will ask you to walk by faith and not by sight. He will ask you to trust Him in the dark. He will ask you to believe in what you cannot see. Why? Because what He is about to give you is not ordinary. It is not natural. It is not humanly possible. It is divine. It is supernatural. It is beyond anything you could have imagined. And before He gives you that thing, He tests your foundation. He tests your posture. He tests your motives. He watches to see if your heart is still pure, if your hands are still clean, if your focus is still on Him and not on the blessing. Because the size of your preparation determines the size of your reward. God doesn't give diamonds to those who can't carry pressure. He doesn't give mountains to those who can't handle the climb. He doesn't give harvests to those who slept through the planting season. So when God is about to give you something big, He will first make you uncomfortable. That discomfort is not punishment, it is preparation. You'll know it's God when everything in your spirit begins to shift. Your appetite for old habits will dry up. Your tolerance for gossip, mediocrity, and small thinking will disappear. People around you won't understand why you're suddenly so quiet, why you're not picking up their calls, why you've stopped explaining yourself. But you're not isolating, you're incubating, you're not running, you're resting. In God, you are shedding the old to make room for the new. And when God sees you willing to let go of what you want, to receive what He wills, that's when the floodgates open. That's when the blessing finds you. But here's the truth. Before it gets better, it might get worse, because elevation requires separation. The higher you go, the fewer people can breathe at your level. The more God reveals, the more He conceals you. God hides His greatest gifts before He releases them. Think of it. The seed must be buried before it can bloom. The pearl is hidden inside the shell. The gold is found deep underground. And so, too, the blessing God is about to give you, it is hidden, but not from you. It's hidden for you, reserved, preserved, and it's being formed in the fire of trials you didn't ask for, in the silence you didn't understand, in the pain you didn't deserve. When you begin to feel like quitting, hold on. When nothing you try seems to work, stand still. When the pressure mounts and you feel like screaming, lift your hands instead, because that resistance, that delay, that crushing weight, it's not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's the proof that God is forming you. He is stretching your capacity so that when He pours the blessing, you won't break. You'll carry it. You'll sustain it. You'll protect it. There's a holy weight coming into your life, and God cannot release it into a reckless spirit. He will not give sacred things to careless hands. That's why the struggle has been so long. That's why the battle has been so fierce. That's why you've been misunderstood, rejected, overlooked. God was hiding you. God was shielding you. God was setting you apart, because what He's about to do through you requires isolation. It requires obedience. It requires a faith that is unshaken by circumstances. When God is about to give you something big, you'll notice that your spirit becomes sensitive. Things that used to entertain you will no longer satisfy you. You will hunger for quiet. You will crave prayer. You will desire the presence of God more than the approval of people. That is not coincidence, it is confirmation. It is God drawing you close, whispering to your soul, get ready, I'm about to do something you never saw coming. Your new prevented, and don't look for validation. Don't wait for others to understand. God didn't give them the vision, God gave it to you. Stop asking people for permission to walk in a promise they didn't receive. They weren't in the room when God whispered it. They didn't see what you saw. They don't carry what you carry, and so they cannot grasp the magnitude of what is coming. But you know, deep in your spirit, you know, you feel it every time you pray, you sense it every time you're quiet. You can't explain it, but it's there. That weight, that expectation, that unshakable belief that something is shifting, and it is. You're not crazy, you're not desperate, you're not overthinking, you are discerning, you are awake, you are in tune with the move of God. And while others are distracted by the noise of the world, you are listening for the whisper of heaven. And God is faithful. God is not a man that He should lie. If He spoke it, He will perform it. If He showed it to you, He will bring it to pass. Not on your schedule, not on your terms, but in His perfect timing. So stay ready, stay faithful, keep your hands clean and your heart pure, because when God is about to give you something big, He watches your posture, He examines your worship, He weighs your motives, and He wants to know, do you want the blessing or do you want the giver? Do you seek the gift or do you seek God? Because if you seek God first, everything else will follow. If you chase His will, His wonders will chase you. If you bow and surrender, He will raise you in power. And the thing you thought you lost, He will restore. The thing you cried over, He will redeem. The thing you didn't think you were qualified for, He will anoint you to handle. But you must believe. You must walk with expectation. Not with arrogance, but with assurance. Not with fear, but with faith. Because when God is about to give you something big, He doesn't ask you to understand, He asks you to believe. To believe even when the door is shut. To believe even when the answer is delayed. To believe even when everything inside of you is weary. Because faith is not just believing when you see it. Faith is believing before it happens, and it is that kind of faith that moves the hand of God. And let me tell you this, when God is about to give you something big, the enemy will try harder than ever to distract you. He will send confusion. He will whisper doubt. He will stir up unnecessary conflict, and he will tempt you to settle for less than what God has promised. That's how you know you're close. The pressure intensifies when the breakthrough is near. The noise rises when the blessing is around the corner. And in those moments, you must become even more rooted, even more disciplined, even more surrendered. Because what's ahead of you is not just for comfort, it's for purpose. God doesn't bless just to please you. God blesses to position you. You are being positioned to influence, to speak life, bring light where there is darkness. And so before the blessing arrives, God teaches you how to manage pain without bitterness, how to walk through betrayal without vengeance, how to suffer without losing your praise. Because when you receive what God has for you, He wants to know you won't be consumed by it, that the blessing won't turn into your burden, that the success won't silence your spirit, that the increase won't disconnect you from the source. God is not just preparing a blessing for you, He is preparing you for the blessing. And when you start to see your life through that lens, you'll begin to realize that even the setbacks were set up. The loss was a lesson. The rejection was redirection. The closed door was God's mercy, keeping you from a trap. Every unanswered prayer was not denial, it was divine preservation. Because if God didn't give you what you asked for, it's because He was getting ready to give you more than you asked for. Something bigger, something eternal, something only He could make happen. There was really only one answer, but there were maybe 2 or 3 others depending on a certain cultural. So if you've been walking through a season where things don't add up, rejoice. If you've been feeling isolated, misjudged, or forgotten, lift your head. That's not a curse. That's not punishment. That's the weight of glory preparing to rest on your life. You see, God doesn't build palaces on unstable ground. He doesn't place crowns on the heads of the untested. So every storm you've survived, every valley you've crawled through, every tear you've cried in secret, they've all been counted. Not one moment of your pain has been wasted. Not one day of your struggle has been ignored. God saw it all, and He is faithful. The signs are not always loud, but they are clear. When God is about to give you something big, your character begins to grow faster than your comfort. Your roots deepen while the fruit delays. You begin to speak less and listen more. You start to walk away from drama, from noise, from anything that poisons your peace. That is God pulling you out of the shallow and into the sacred. That is God teaching you that real blessings don't come with chaos, but with clarity. They don't come with anxiety, but with assurance. And they don't come through striving, but through surrender. God's timing is never early, it is never late, it is precise, it is perfect, but the human heart grows weary. And in that weariness, we begin to question, has God forgotten me? Why does it take so long? But remember, every delay in your life has been in service to something greater. If God had given you what you wanted when you wanted it, you would have settled for a fraction of your purpose. God knows when you're ready. He knows when the conditions are right. And He knows how to prepare a blessing so tailor-made for your soul that when it arrives, you will say, only God could have done this. And when that blessing comes, it will not just elevate your life, it will glorify God. People will look at you and not see your talent, not see your strength, but they will see the hand of God. They will wonder how you survived, how you made it through, how you are still standing. And your life will be a living testimony. That's what the blessing is for, not to make you boast, but to make you bow, not to draw attention to yourself, but to point all glory back to God, the one who kept you, covered you, and carried you. Now here's a truth that might shake you. Sometimes God delays the blessing because He wants to see if you'll still worship while you wait. Will you still trust Him when nothing is changing? Will you still praise Him when doors remain shut? Will you still serve when you feel empty? That is the test. Because what you do in the waiting determines what you'll do in the winning. If you complain in the dry season, you'll grow complacent in the harvest. But if you remain faithful in the drought, you'll overflow in the rain. So guard your heart, guard your mind. Don't let bitterness take root. Don't let weariness rob your joy. Don't let impatience make you miss what's coming, because just when you think it's over, God moves. Just when you think He's silent, He speaks. Just when you're ready to give up, He opens the door. God doesn't work on your schedule, but He always works. And His work is perfect. His ways are higher. His thoughts are wiser. And His blessings, His blessings, they come wrapped in peace, soaked in purpose, and sealed by His power. Listen to me now. God is not going to give you something average. He is not going to give you something that looks like what you lost. He is going to give you something better, something bigger, something that makes you forget the nights you cried, something that makes you understand why it took so long, something that humbles you not because you deserved it, but because God is good. And when it comes, you will know. You won't have to force it. You won't have to manipulate people to keep it. You won't have to compromise your values to hold on to it. Because when something is from God, it fits, it flows, it feels right, it brings peace, it aligns with your spirit, it lifts you, not drains you, it gives life, not anxiety, and it glorifies God, not your ego. You see, the enemy can imitate opportunity, but he cannot manufacture peace. He can offer speed, but not substance. You can offer flash, but not foundation. That's why when you're close to your breakthrough, you must be wise. Not everything that looks good is from God. Some things are tests. Some offers are distractions dressed up as destiny. And it takes discernment to know the difference. So seek God. Ask for clarity. Wait for confirmation. And when God moves, move with Him. Don't second guess. Don't look back. Don't seek the approval of others. Because when God gives the word, no one can stop it. No delay can cancel it. No enemy can block it. No hater can undo it. What God has declared over your life, it is sealed. And some of you, right now, are standing on the edge of it. You've felt it coming. You've seen glimpses in your dreams. You've heard whispers in your spirit. And yet you've been attacked more in this season than ever before. That's not a coincidence. That's confirmation. The enemy wouldn't fight you so hard if you weren't carrying something precious. He wouldn't try to wear you out if he didn't know what was coming. You're not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because you're close. So don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Don't believe the lie that says it's too late. With God, it's never too late. He can restore in a moment what you thought was lost forever. He can rebuild what was shattered. He can resurrect what died, because God is not limited by time, by logic, or by human opinion. He is sovereign. He is supreme. He is able. And He is about to do something big in your life. Something that generations after you will speak about. Something that shifts the entire atmosphere around you. Something that brings healing to your family, peace to your soul, and light to everyone around you. But for now, prepare, purify, pray, praise, because the blessing is not just coming to you, it is coming through you. And there comes a moment in your journey when you realize the very waiting room you despised was actually a holy place. A place where God stripped you of pride, emptied you of noise, and taught you the discipline of stillness. It was in that sacred pause that your ears were tuned to the whisper of God. You didn't know it then, but that quiet season, when no doors opened, when no one clapped, when nothing made sense, was the furnace where your character was being refined. God was not withholding from you. God was protecting what He was building within you. You see, when God plans to trust you with something monumental, He must first make sure you are trustworthy. It is easy to desire greatness, but it is another thing to carry it with humility. God doesn't want you to receive the blessing and forget the process. He doesn't want you to stand on a platform and think you climbed there by your own strength. So before the rise comes the crushing. Before the overflow comes the pruning. Before the promise, there is always a preparation that feels like pressure. That pressure is holy. That pressure is sacred. That pressure is not the absence of God. It is the evidence that He is near. And when you begin to shift from questioning God's timing to trusting His wisdom, the atmosphere begins to change. Your prayers mature, your worship deepens, your dependence becomes pure. No longer are you pleading for comfort, now you're asking for clarity. You're no longer rushing, now you're resting in the assurance that what God has appointed, no man can cancel. You're not trying to make things happen, you're allowing God to move as He wills. That is the posture of one who is ready. That is the spirit of someone God can trust. And let me say this boldly, not everyone will understand your transition. When God is getting ready to give you something big, He separates you from what is small, He removes you from what is shallow, He disconnects you from people who were only attached to your former season. And though it may hurt, do not grieve what God removes. The pruning may feel personal, but it is purposeful. Some people cannot go where God is taking you. Some relationships were never meant to follow you into destiny. And if you continue dragging them into spaces where they don't belong, you will delay what was already ordained. You cannot carry what is holy while clinging to what is harmful. You cannot receive what is sacred while holding on to what is stale. God will not place fire in hands that are still chained to compromise. That's why you felt the shift. That's why your appetite has changed. That's why old habits now feel heavy. God is making room. And He's not asking for your opinion. He's demanding your obedience. Because the blessing that's coming is not for your comfort, it's for His glory. And you must be willing to walk alone if that's what obedience requires. Because obedience is the gate through which blessings flow. Not just verbal agreement, not emotional response, but full surrender. When God sees that your heart is yielded, when He sees that your hands are open, when He knows that your agenda is dead and His will is your only desire, that's when the shift becomes visible. That's when what was delayed is released. That's when what you've been carrying in your spirit begins to manifest in your reality. So don't be discouraged by the silence. Don't be shaken by the delay. Don't interpret stillness as stagnation. God often does His greatest work in hiddenness. The roots of a tree grow silently before the branches ever stretch toward the sky. The foundation of a house is laid underground before a single wall is built. God is working beneath the surface of your life. The silence does not mean He is inactive. It means He is being intentional. And when the time comes, it will be sudden. It will be undeniable. It will be so precise that you will look back and say, now I understand. The doors that once refused to open will swing wide. The opportunities you once chased will come searching for you. The favor that once seemed far off will rest on you like a garment, but it will not come to validate you. It will come to glorify God through you. That's the sign that it's from God. It won't feed your pride. It will humble you. It won't make you arrogant. It will make you bow. It won't point to you. It will point to the greatness of the one who orchestrated it all. And when that day arrives, and it will arise, you will realize that every moment of pain had purpose. Every delay was divine. Every no was necessary. Every tear was a seed. And now you're walking into the harvest, not just of what you asked for, but of what you didn't even know you needed. Because God doesn't just answer your prayers, He exceeds them. He sees the cries of your heart that your lips never uttered. He knows the longing you tried to bury, and He, in His perfect wisdom, gives in a way that heals as it honors. You may have been waiting for a thing, but God was preparing to give you more than a thing. He was preparing to give you an encounter, a divine shift, a life-altering moment that only He could orchestrate. But only those who endure see the fullness. Only those who trust through the tension experience the overflow. The road is narrow, the climb is steep, but the view, oh, the view! is beyond what your mind can imagine. And hear this truth deep in your bones. When God is about to release something beyond comprehension, He will first demand the death of your own will. Not because He wants to hurt you, but because He wants to protect you from the danger of your own desires. God will never allow what you want to suffocate what He ordained. So He will test your surrender. He will ask you to lay your Isaac on the altar, the very thing you've longed for, cried for, prayed for, and see if you can walk away in trust. Because when you can let go of the gift and still worship the giver, then and only then are you ready for the kind of blessing that carries eternal weight. There's a moment where your prayers must shift from give me to prepare me. Because what God is bringing to your life is not just an answer, it's a responsibility. It will require wisdom to manage it, discipline to sustain it, and humility to carry it. God doesn't bless your ambition, He blesses your submission. The size of what's coming is directly tied to the size of your surrender. The bigger the blessing, the deeper the stripping. And that is why you must not despise the process. The fire is forming something in you that ease never could. The pressure is pushing out of you everything that cannot live in the next season. Some of you have been misreading the warfare around you. You've thought it was punishment when really it was a preparation for promotion. The attacks you've endured, the betrayal you've survived, the chaos that came out of nowhere. These were not signs of abandonment. They were signs that God was making you battle-tested. Because what's ahead will not only bless you, it will shake systems, shift atmospheres, and silence every voice that spoke against your name. And for that, you must be built strong. Your foundation must be God alone. Your security must be God alone. Your identity must be rooted not in what you hold, but in who holds you. And when God sees that your posture is right, He moves. Not when you complain, not when you beg, but when you align. When your soul stops wrestling and your spirit begins to rest. That is the point of readiness. That is the moment heaven begins to open. And you will find that God doesn't need a crowd to bless you. He doesn't require anyone to approve what He has appointed. In fact, many times, your biggest blessings will be birthed in the most private places. In caves, not castles. In stillness, not spectacle. Because God is not interested in impressing people, He is interested in transforming you. So don't chase visibility, chase intimacy with God. Don't seek the platform, seek the presence. Because the blessing you are about to receive won't make you louder, it will make you quieter. It will humble you, it will convict you, it will press you into even deeper dependence. And the more God gives, the more He expects. Not perfection, but purity. Not performance, but posture. A heart that stays bowed even in success. A soul that trembles at His whisper, even when standing on the mountaintop. And understand this, when God chooses to give you something big, it's because He's also assigned something eternal to your name. The blessing is not just about money, status, or recognition. The blessing is about impact. It is about legacy. It is about light in dark places. God is entrusting you with influence. Not so you can rise, but so that He can be revealed through your rise. You are a vessel, a carrier, a light bearer. And for that role, you must be refined. So let the fire do its work. Let the silence shape your ears to hear what noise could never teach you. Let the waiting stretch your faith until it no longer depends on evidence. Because when you walk by conviction and not condition, you are ready for what others can't carry. Many are called, but few are prepared. The preparation is what separates the temporary from the timeless. And here's what you must never forget. God is watching how you handle the small things. He's watching how you treat people who can do nothing for you. He's watching how you steward the quiet seasons, the unnoticed labor, the prayers prayed in secret. Because when He's about to give you something big, He looks not at your public voice, but at your private loyalty. Do you still praise when there is no audience? Do you still trust when the door stays shut? Do you still obey when the reward is invisible? That is where the real work happens. Not on the stage, but in the secret place. Not in what people see, but in what only God sees. And when that hidden foundation is strong, God will lift you, He will promote you, He will elevate you, not to shine a light on you, but to shine a light through you. So keep building in silence, keep sowing in faith, keep walking even when no one applauds, because what God is about to do in your life is not seasonal, it's supernatural. It's not manufactured by man, it's manifested by God. And when it comes, it will not be small, it will not be average, it will be evidence. Evidence of divine favor, evidence of holy preparation, evidence that God saw you when no one else did, and remembered you when everyone else forgot. And you will stand in that moment not as someone who got lucky, but as someone who was proven. Someone who was pressed, purified, and positioned. Someone who passed the test. And the beauty of it all? You won't need to explain it. You won't need to defend it. The blessing will speak for itself. It will declare the greatness of God through the story of your life. So lift your head. Square your shoulders. Fix your heart on God, because you are not just waiting, you are being watched by heaven. And the moment of release is coming, and when it comes, the blessing will overtake you. Not because you were the most talented, not because you had the best plan, but because you trusted God. You stayed when it hurt. You worshiped when it was dark. You kept going when it made no sense. And God will reward you in a way that only He can. And let every soul hear this now. When God is preparing to give you something big, He doesn't only examine your faith, He also examines your intentions. What are you truly asking for? Is it to serve God's purpose or to satisfy your pride? Is it to glorify His name or to elevate your own? God does not release the weight of His blessings into the hands of those who crave recognition more than righteousness. He does not pour out the oil of His favor upon those who are chasing applause instead of chasing Him. The heart must be pure. The soul must be stripped of self-centered desires. Because what God is about to give you is not just a reward, it is a sacred responsibility. Because there is not a God, there is an earth. When God begins to prepare something divine, He does not work with haste. The greater the assignment, the deeper the cleansing. You may feel stretched beyond your limit, tested beyond your strength, but it is because God is expanding the borders of your soul. The vessel must be made ready for the weight it is destined to carry. A shallow foundation cannot hold a towering structure. A brittle spirit cannot steward a blessing forged in the fires of purpose. So if you feel as though you've been broken, it is because God is removing everything that cannot endure what is coming. He is tearing down every counterfeit identity, every false comfort, every idol of control that you've clung to, so that when He builds, it is His hand alone that is visible. Understand this, when God calls you to something big, He rarely gives you all the details. He gives you just enough light for the next step. Because the blessing is not merely in the destination. It is in learning to trust the path you cannot see. Faith is not about walking where it makes sense. Faith is about walking where only obedience can lead you. And that is when you begin to grow, not just in what you know, but in who you become. God is shaping a soul that can weather storms without folding, a heart that can be trusted with power and not be corrupted by it. You may have cried in the dark, asking why the journey has taken so long. You may have whispered prayers soaked in sorrow, wondering if God still sees you. Let this be the answer your spirit has waited for. God sees all. God hears every unspoken plea, counts every tear that falls in secret, and reads every thought that trembles within your chests. Nothing escapes his watch. Nothing delays without purpose. And when God decides it is time, no force on earth can stand in the way. No enemy can undo what God has written. No man can revoke what God has approved. It will be delivered, not a second too soon, not a breath too late. And you must recognize this. The closer you get to what God has ordained, the more intense the spiritual resistance will become. This is not a sign that you are failing. It is a signal that the gates of opposition have noticed your momentum. But you must not retreat. You must not shrink back. The resistance is a revelation. It means you are aligned. It means you are advancing. God does not allow giants to appear before those who are not destined to conquer. The presence of opposition is proof that something powerful is ahead. But you must not fight with fleshly weapons. When God is your source, your strategy must be spiritual. You win battles through unwavering trust. You overcome through consistent obedience. You walk into victory by speaking what God has spoken, even when the visible world contradicts it. Speak as though it's already done. Praise as though it's already yours. Move as though the promise is not a distant hope, but a present certainty. That is the kind of faith that commands heaven's attention. And do not let comparison dilute your conviction. What God is preparing for you cannot be measured by what others have received. Stay in your lane, guard your eyes, keep your focus on what God is doing in you, not what He's doing for someone else, because when your time comes, and it will come, it will fit you perfectly, it will speak your name, it will require every lesson you've learned, every pain you've endured, every step of the obedience you've walked. You will realize then that God wasn't just preparing the blessing for you, He was preparing you for the blessing. And the transformation that happens in the waiting, that's the real miracle. Before the fruit appears, the roots go deep. Before the promise is fulfilled, the soul is fortified. God uses the waiting season to teach you things that victory alone could never teach. He uses the quiet to show you who He truly is, without distractions, without applause, without noise. It is there, in the stillness, that God reveals the depths of His mercy and the fire of His purpose. So walk through the delay with dignity. Let your silence be loud with confidence in God. Let your stillness echo with trust. Let your obedience sing louder than any fear or doubt, because every step you take in the dark is building a testimony that will shine in the light. God will use your endurance as evidence. He will use your faithfulness as a foundation. He will make your life a mirror that reflects His power, not your perfection, not your performance, but His absolute and unshakable power. When the moment arrives, and oh, it will arrive, you won't have to force it, you won't have to manipulate it, you won't have to make it happen with your own strength. You will step into it and realize it was tailor-made by the hand of God. Doors will open not because you knocked loud enough, but because God commanded them to. People will honor what you carry, not because you demanded respect, but because they will sense that what is on your life came from a higher place. And in that hour, do not forget where it came from. Do not mistake the blessing for the source. Do not cling to the gift and forget the giver. The moment you try to hold it in your own power, it will start to weigh you down. But if you carry it with the same surrender that led you there, it will lift you. It will strengthen you. It will multiply not only in your life, but in the lives of those connected to your obedience. And I say to every soul listening, when God is about to give you something big, the atmosphere around you will begin to shift in ways that cannot be explained by human logic. You may not see physical changes yet, but your spirit will know. Your discernment will awaken. Your dreams will carry messages too weighty for your sleep. You will feel the pull toward quiet, the divine urge to step back from noise and sink deeper into stillness, because God does not shout when He speaks destiny. He whispers it in moments of sacred solitude. He draws you away from the crowd, not to isolate you, but to elevate your awareness of Him. And here is the deep truth many miss. Before God sends the increase, He often causes a shaking. The things you leaned on will tremble. The things you trusted will be tested, not to destroy you, but to strip away everything that could contaminate what is coming. God is not trying to take from you. He is trying to purify what will remain in you. Every great thing from God is born in a moment of surrender, and you cannot truly surrender until God has shown you that there's nothing else worth holding on to except Him. Some of you have been wondering why your prayers haven't been answered in the way you expected. But let me speak this clearly. Just because you have not seen the fruit yet does not mean the roots aren't growing. God is working underground. God is building silently. And when He finally brings it forth, it will happen so suddenly, so unmistakably, that no man will be able to take credit. It will come from angles you did not anticipate, through doors you never knocked on, from places your mind never imagined. That's how God moves, unexpectedly, but precisely. But God will not release what is great into a vessel that is still clinging to what is small. So ask yourself, what do I need to release in order to receive? What fear do I need to lay down? What habit must be crucified in the secret place? What mindset must be broken so God can build upon something stable? The blessing you're waiting for doesn't just require an open hand. It requires a new heart. Not a perfect heart, but a heart that is teachable, pliable, yielded entirely to the will of God. Do not fear the pruning. Do not resist the process. Every cut is under the control of God's wisdom. Every delay is laced with divine strategy. Every disappointment is a redirection away from the counterfeit and toward what is truly yours by appointment. And make no mistake, what God has for you, no one else can touch. You don't need to compete, compare, or control. All you need to do is stay positioned, stay humble, stay faithful, and allow God to finish what He started. And when you feel the weight of waiting grow heavy, remember, God is not just testing your patience. He is cultivating your endurance. The kind of endurance that won't just carry the blessing, it will protect it. You must be able to handle what comes with the blessing. The visibility, the responsibility, the pressure, the attacks, the tests that come after the triumph. This is why God prepares in layers.